Hello everyone and welcome back to the Feeding Frenzy. And without any more preamble, let's jump in. What's worth your time to check out this week? First up, as always, is worth listening. This week's podcast is The Tim Ferriss Show with Dr. Andrew Huberman. For those of you not familiar with Andrew Huberman, here's a short bio on his work. Andrew Huberman is a PhD neuroscientist and tenured professor in the Department of Neurobiology at Stanford University School of Medicine. He is a McKnight Foundation and Pew Foundation Fellow and recipient of the 2017 Kogan Award for his discoveries in the study of vision. The Huberman Laboratory at Stanford Medicine has consistently been published in top journals, including Nature, Science, and Cell. The reason I wanted to share this particular podcast is I've had a couple of his other podcasts, his own Huberman Lab podcast episodes shared here on the Feeding Frenzy. And some of you may wonder, why is it worth listening to another episode? And what I found awesome is just the ability that Tim does with all of his episodes is to dive beneath the surface and kind of peel back layers of the onion, so to speak, and get into these high performers. And one of those ideas that I really liked was that they got into somewhat uncomfortable territory, and Tim had asked him, why did he become a neuroscientist? And in perfect honesty from Dr. Huberman, he shared his roughly end of high school to early college years, and that he hadn't actually wanted to be a neuroscientist, even though if you listen to how articulate he is and his depth of knowledge, that he is someone that you'd think had always saw this as a calling or passion for him. And realistically, that's just not the case. Also, that it took a lot of effort to put himself in the position he is today. So it's nothing to take away in his achievements, but it's just to show for younger people out there, people who are striving to do things, that you don't always have to have it figured out at, age 5. It's working towards something if you really know what you want to work toward. And it's just really good. And the other half of it is that for me, Dr. Huberman shares tools and tactics that are behavior-based. He doesn't like supplements. He'll share supplements and things like that, but he doesn't want to rely on supplements alone so that you have to take a substance to achieve the things you want. He thinks of it more of, how do you put behavior/habits in place so that you can achieve the results you want, meaning sleeping and waking up at a better time. He really does lean into sleeping and vision as the pathways that set all other behaviors in check. So without any more on this one, I really think if you're the kind of person who is interested in the behavior tools aspect of this that cost you nothing, just effort, then you'll find something of value in this conversation. Moving on to worth reading. Today's article is The Colors of Our Emotion from PhD Marc Brackett. And I thought this was an interesting article, but I had not heard of Marc Brackett before. And so again, here is a little background. As I said, he is a PhD and is the founder and director of the Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence and a professor in the Child Study Center of Yale University. And he is the author of Permission to Feel. And this kind of piggybacks from what Dr. Huberman's podcast was about. What I've captured my attention is just the idea of being more scientific with our emotions. Typically, we kind of have this valence around how we feel that is unexplainable. I just feel that way, and you just kind of brush it off and you don't really look at it for more clarity or dissect it. And he has a phrase that he uses called behavior does not equal emotion. And I thought that was interesting, right? Because a lot of us will use the behavior and say, well, I had an outburst because I'm emotional today. I'm upset. I don't mean to take it out on you. I'm just upset. Those kinds of sentences that we typically hear. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've always been drawn to science, because it seeks to quantify the things that are, well, at first unquantifiable. And it's probably why I like wearing wearables, as I'm wearing on my arm right here, because it gives you a lens to understand yourself, even when you can't really know, like you can't just go into your body and be like, hey body, how do I feel today? Right? Like it's not as simple as that. But I think if we force ourselves to be clearer, then all of a sudden it does. And it's like, at least for me, it's like, as I've gotten older, if understanding yourself around an emotional context, it's like, why would you want to do any of the helpful things that we now take for granted at a well-being level, like doing yoga, working out, eating healthier, drinking less, all of those things, if they don't have a positive effect on your emotional state, then why do them? Next up is worth watching. Today we have 2 videos. The first one is a bit shorter and honestly awesome because of just how short and sweet and to the point it is. The video is how to make long-term improvements on your life. And the secondary title I would have come up with this as I watched it was why habits are better than goals. And there's just a short list of basically 5 key points between the benefits or the downfalls of goals and the benefits of a habit. And on the blog, I've put those as a summary so you guys can find them there. And it's doesn't take anything away from it because there's much more in this video and I didn't want to just transcribe it for people, but I think you should watch it. It's only about 3 minutes long. And then really just habits for me are just the golden compass for everything. When I think back on my like 19, 20-year-old self going down this journey of self-improvement and just trying to understand where I was going to be in the future, I think the biggest thing that I could say that I did for myself is create long-term habits. For instance, the easy low-hanging fruit here for me at least was, how do I continue to work out for the long term? And since I've done that, it changed the entire trajectory of my life, not only in a positive, healthy, well-being standpoint, but just in how I viewed myself, because I just put this habit in place that say, you're going to work out now. I didn't try to force it to look a certain way. I just said, you're going to learn to work out in the way that you see fit. And the way I saw working out was being scientific about it, to turning it into a science. How do I, measure it and do all of the associated behaviors that being a scientist, experimenting with yourself would do. One of the products of that is what I'm doing here right now, is trying to share that with more people. And so again, just watch the video, and I probably spent more time talking about it right now than the actual length of the video. The second video is a corridor crew video, and this one is a lot of fun for me and more of on the creative side and kind of playing around with future tech. So this one is, we made famous cartoons into real humans, and the thumbnail should give it away. And I'll have some of the images as the thumbnail here or showed as well as from what I've found on the internet, because it's really, really cool. So the team at Corridor, a AI-based tool that's open source, and they were able to put in a JPEG photo you can find on the internet of their favorite animated characters. And then the AI tool can look at the facial landmarks and spit out a real human face from that animated cartoon face, which is so cool that 1, it's free, and 2, almost any computer can run it. Because this is the kind of thing that what AI can really do is, when you train the neural network to be effective and efficient, it makes it super easy for machines to run it. The only thing is, the limitation right now is that the more abstract the face is, where it doesn't have the normal facial landmarks of like chins or noses or lips, then there's the limitation there. But in any case, it's just fun, right? For all of us who've grown up with animated characters, and we know they're not real, but we have a connection to them. And then to see them brought to real life makes it all that much more fun. And the cool thing is, you can go play with this tool right now and just see the photos there and create some images of your favorite characters. And I would honestly, you guys can go watch the video and see the hashtag they shared. So if you do it, go do it, and you can tag them. And then last but not least is the quote of the week. This week's quote is from Zig Ziglar. If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. And with that, everyone, that wraps up this week's Feeding Frenzy, and I hope you'll see you in the next one. And with that, the only other thing is that I have to ask is, we've started a new series on the podcast side, on the Feeding Curiosity podcast, which is the breakdown of the TV show C. And we're talking with my friend Jordan Chris and longtime guest on the podcast. And what we're doing is sitting down together, discussing the episode shortly after watching it. So we're basically giving you our raw thoughts and impressions on all aspects of each episode. How do the characters interact with each other? What are the technical aspects that we're seeing in the film from our unique perspectives? And then also just what we enjoyed or what we didn't like about it. And as always, my hope is that we can turn it into a broader discussion about the creativity in the idea of TV shows and films and all of the aspects, the layers of the onion again, and just have a more appreciative look at the art that goes into creating something like a TV show, as with all things. And so with that, everyone, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next edition.